Hello everyone! I'm back today with a new process video for you. So this video and project was initially created for the Paul Your Way Into Our Hearts hop, but I got busy, very busy with some work things and then also with some crafty assignments and commitments, and so I had this layout all started and then I had to set it aside, and I'm just now getting back to doing the video for it. So I did add the little thumbnail to the Paul Your Way Into Our Hearts hop in the front because that was where it was originally supposed to be. But as this video is now over a week late, I'm gonna say it's not part of the hop anymore. So I have two photos of my baby fits. I have a 6x paper pad from Honeybee Stamps. Now, I am only using this because it had these neutral colors, and I'm just pulling out a couple of those patterns. These two paper pads from Honeybee Stamps are part of their Vintage Love release, and I love them. You'll be seeing tons more using this collection and line next month because I pulled together my How to Kill a Kit with Style for the next couple of months is all heritage and vintage products. So those are the papers that I chose. I didn't end up using all of them. I just wanted ones that kind of accented the photos. Now let's talk about my die cuts. So these are brand new cut files from A Cherry on Top. I asked Rachel to please make some puppy dog cut files for me, and she did, and they're absolutely perfect. So I knew I had to use them. I am also going to be using some epoxy flare and canvas flare from Scrap and Happy Studio today. And kind of the point of this video, what I want to show you is not just how you can go ahead and alter your cut files, but also the impact that a mixed media background can make onto a page. You're going to see that this is going to be like very much the kind of the point of this video. So I've gone ahead and masked off the heart in the middle of the Dog Mom cut file, and now I'm going to use some spiced cardstock, some spiced ink from Catherine Pooler, and I am going to color this cut file. So by masking it off, I can now add a different color to the middle, right? And I'm going to use those Scrap and Happy Studio flares as my color combinations. So that's where I'm going to pull in all the color for my layout today. Once I had my cut file inked up with the spiced ink, I'm going to come in with icing on the cake and just do the top. So I'm just doing the top little edge of my cut file just to give it a little bit of a darker shadow across the top. Catherine Pooler's inks are dye inks, but when you let them sit and kind of soak into the paper, they will smooth out. So if it looks a little bit blotchy right now, that will go away. Now I am taking cotton candy ink, and I'm just very carefully, because this is a delicate cut file, I am just very, very carefully going to ink up the heart in the center, this really light cotton candy pink. And then I'm going to go ahead and accent the little heart with some Nuvo drops. The other cut file that I had cut here was these cute little paw prints, and I'm going to heat emboss one of them using some Pearly Rainbow embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. I put a couple of coats of embossing powder onto this so it has a nice thick layer. And then the second paw print I just inked up using some Daydream ink. So everything's dry now. We're ready to kind of put everything together for our layout. I'm gonna go ahead and take those papers I had chosen and mat both of these photos. I have stamped some a journaling box because this particular layout needs some journaling. So I'm going to mat the photos, both the photos, twice in 2 different pattern papers that I have chosen. And I'll tell you the story of these photos in a little bit, but I wanted to show you something really interesting first. I really wanted to share with you the impact that just a little bit of paint and a little bit of a mixed media background can make on a layout. So I have a sheet of white cardstock here, and I'm laying out all of the elements for my project. I'm laying out where I want the paw prints, and I'm laying out where I want the flare pieces that I'm using. I'm just doing this on white cardstock. I really want to do a lot of focus during the month of April on backgrounds. This is a personal focus for me. I want to be able to share with all of you in a bunch of upcoming videos the impact that your background can make on a page. Why we choose sometimes to have a mixed media background versus a pattern paper background. Why we might choose a more tone-on-tone background. So for April, a lot of my videos are going to be focusing on that, choosing our backgrounds for our scrapbook pages. So let's start with this one. I know I want to use these epoxy flares. I have enough elements here for a scrapbook layout. I have enough embellishments. I have a nice title, a place for journaling. But as you'll see, as I continue to kind of layer or kind of put this layout together, it is going to become very clear very quickly that this layout is meh. There's nothing that is grabbing your attention. It's looking very kind of plain Jane. It's looking a little underwhelming. But I've done a lot of work, right? I heat embossed. I added the ink. I did altered these cut files and all of those things. Now I don't have a lot of pattern paper, but I don't really have a pattern paper that is going to pull in those colors. And remember, my starting point for this layout is those epoxy flares. But if we zhuzh up that background a little bit, it is going to make all the difference in the world. So I've chosen a collection of aqua pigments and chroma mists from Brutus Monroe. I have some of my very favorite paintbrushes. They're wide paintbrushes. And I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to play a little bit and make a mess. I have really thick cardstock here from 49th and Market. Now I did switch out my cardstock. So the initial background was just white coconut swirl from Basil. I switched it out for a much thicker, heavier weight cardstock once I decided I really needed that kind of background. So this is creamy orange aqua pigment ink from Brutus Monroe. I have this really wide paintbrush that I love. So this paintbrush was also from Brutus Monroe, but it's like Brutus Monroe circa 2017, 2018, and it's most definitely not available anymore, but I absolutely love it. So I am going to go ahead and create a background. Let's put some color and some interest behind those cut files, my photos, the epoxy flares, and you can see that this background is not anything super hard, right? I'm taking a wide paintbrush and I'm just kind of sectioning off those 3 areas of my layout. Now this is a little bit out of order in the way I usually film my videos, right? Because a lot of times when I film the videos, I start the video with me making the background and then layering everything on top. But This video is more honest into how this actually goes. So a lot of times when I'm creating a mixed media background, it is because I've already planned out my page and it needs it. It needs that background. It needs something behind it. So it's okay to not start your layout with a background. You can start your layout with all of the other elements and then say, you know what, this background needs to be zhuzhed up a bit. So this that I am using now is turquoise aqua pigment. So we've done the creamy orange. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put a nice strip of painted turquoise. I don't mind if these overlap. Overlapping them is just going to give this, it's going to do this like greeny teal color, which I am totally okay with. It's not going to turn into mud, and that's fine, but it's not really what I'm going for. I really just want this bold orange strip and then the bold turquoise strip. Now I'm taking a third color of the aqua pigment. This is pearl. So pearl aqua pigment is just gorgeous shimmer. It's going to tone down the brightness and the boldness of the turquoise and the orange, but it's also going to add a pretty shimmery interest to this background. So I'm doing exactly the same thing. Wide paintbrush, just going right over all of these colors. I am only doing one pass because the pearl aqua pigment will activate the orange and the turquoise, and it will kind of have them mix, like it will mix with the paint. And I don't really want that. I really just want the pearl color over top of the colors I already have here. So one pass, maybe two, and then we're done. And now we're going to switch to a fan brush. Fan brushes are how you splatter in my world. The longer the handle on the fan brush, the better, if you ask me. And so I am splattering like crazy, and then I'm just going to let this dry for a nice long time. Let everything, all these paints get good, and we want it dry, like bone dry. And that usually takes overnight. I generally leave my background sit overnight, or while I do dishes or cook dinner or clean my house, stuff like that. So here's our completely dry background, and I'm going to hit on the light so you can see that pearl. Isn't that gorgeous? Now what we're going to do is we're going to put all those elements back, but they're going to look so different because we have that background. So as soon as I start putting down these elements, and I'm putting them exactly where I was going to put them before, but now instead of kind of looking meh, it's going to pop. These areas have that lovely, gorgeous color behind them. And I just love it. I think it turned out so, so good. So while I get everything into place here and start to put stuff down, let's talk about these photos. So Mr. Fitzy was, this past summer, he suddenly, out of the blue, started refusing to go up and down our stairs. So he goes up and down stairs all the time. He races up them, races down them. Never had a problem with him. And then literally one Friday afternoon, he said, forget it, I'm not doing stairs anymore. So I took him right to the vet on Monday, and the vet didn't find anything obvious. But he said that more than likely he was having a little bit of back discomfort, and that he's probably at about like stage 0 and might have IVDD, which is a degenerative disc disease in dogs. And he said, it's awesome that we caught it early. It's amazing that we got it. And he put him on medications, and now Fitz is doing wonderful. Now it's been months. This was last summer, so it's been almost a year. Fitz is still running up and down the stairs. He hasn't had to go on any kind of medication, just this maintenance medication. But at the beginning, it was so hard for us to get him to take these pills. These were like horse pills for dogs. I was trying everything. One of the things that someone said to try was butter. So this was our attempt at butter. And my dog had butter all over his face, like everywhere. you see the close-ups of this. This was the funniest thing. The butter was everywhere. And I don't know that and we still had to try to like shove the pill down his throat because it didn't work at all. We have since found the most perfect way to give him his pills every day. He's perfect, no problems, doing great. But yeah. So now that I have all of this down, and you saw I did add a couple more canvas flares, and I'm going to put everything down using either Nuvo Deluxe adhesive or Tear It tape on the back of the flares. Never adhere epoxy or canvas flares with wet glue. Always use a dry adhesive. I love the red line tape or Tear It tape from Spiegelman Scraps. I almost always use Tear It tape to get to adhere my flares down. And that way you don't have some of the rust issues that you can get, things like that. So that's just my little adhesive 411 for you. So the full title of my layout for today is going to be Life of a Dog Mom. And since that one paw print that I heat embossed with the pearly rainbow embossing powder has almost like a silver color to it, I am going to go ahead and put down some silver letters. And I'm going to glue them all down because I'm putting them right over the mixed media portion of my layout. And the full title of our layout is going to be Life of a Dog Mom. I hope today's video has given you a peek behind the curtain as to what kinds of thought processes that I use, how I make that decision. Am I going to use a plain white background? Does this background need stamping? Does this background need paint? And things like that. And a lot of times it just has to do with me kind of putting my layout together and then feeling like it needs something more, a little more color, a little more design. And while that can sometimes be a pattern paper, sometimes that is not pattern paper because I tend to want to use 6x paper pads, or in this case, my jumping off point and what I wanted to use on this layout were those flare pieces and these cut files. So since that is where my color combo is coming from, that is where my inspiration for this layout is coming from. It's not from a specific collection. I'm going to need to make my own backgrounds. I'm going to need to do something in the background to kind of catch all of those colors that we wanted to see in our layout today. And you can definitely tell the difference from at the beginning where I just put down the elements, got my design idea into place, and how it looked versus how it looks now. Now it looks interesting. It has this color in the background. The color sets off the other elements. The layout does not have that meh look about it, right? And here are all of the close-ups. Thank you so much for joining me today. You can head down to the description box where I will have all of the products listed that I can find for this layout, including things like the cut files, the mixed media things, the epoxy flares, those types of things. Have a wonderful Friday, everybody. Happy weekend. I'll see you again soon. Bye.